Welcome to Read Alouds with Mrs. Na. We are going to practice today the reading skill of stepping into a perspective of one of the characters in the book. So, this story is called No Kidding, Mermaids Are a Joke. The story of the Little Mermaid as told by the prince. It's written by Nancy Lowen and illustrated by Amit Tayal. Okay, I love these books because it's telling the story that we all know, that many of us know, I should say, the story of the Little Mermaid, but instead of telling it from the perspective or the point of view of the Little Mermaid, we are going to hear this story as told by the prince, as if we are hearing the perspective or the point of view from the prince. Readers, this is a really fun way to read the same story in a different way. No kidding, Mermaids Are a Joke. The story of the Little Mermaid as told by the prince. Okay, are mermaids real? A little while ago I would have said, no way, sea creatures with people faces and people arms, but great big fish tails instead of legs? That's nuts. Then I met this girl. So this girl changes his thoughts on mermaids. My name is Prince Aloud. I'm sort of a practical joker. If you're looking for someone to put chili powder in the toothpaste or to glue coins to sidewalks, I'm your guy. But back to the girl. I found her on the shore one morning, just lying there. She was wiggling her toes, as if she'd never seen them before. Can you wiggle your toes for me? Okay, now, looks like Alec likes to play jokes on people, so maybe a character trait of Alec might be he's silly, or maybe he's a trickster, right? He likes to glue coins on the sidewalk, and when people try to pick him up, he laughs at them. She couldn't talk, but she drew pictures in the sand. They were pretty wild. She drew a merman king on a throne and a mean-looking sea witch and a mermaid drinking a potion. And then she drew that same mermaid girl with human legs. Do you remember the name of the merman king on a throne? Or the mean-looking sea witch? Yeah, this is the story of the Little Mermaid, Ursula. I was a little suspicious. Here's why. Not long ago, I had a birthday party on my dad's ship, and that night a terrible storm came up, and the ship broke apart, and everybody else got on a lifeboat, but the wind tossed me into the water, and I had this weird dream that someone carried me through the water, someone with long, flowing hair and a tail. Or was it a dream? I woke up the next morning on a distant beach and I didn't know how I'd gotten there. Anyway, I made the mistake of telling my buddies. They've been teasing me ever since. I can't go for a swim without someone tossing a doll in the water. Anyway, I have to check my oatmeal for fish scales. Did Dave put you up to this? I asked the girl. Or Jimmy? I bet it was Jimmy. She looked confused. Okay, readers. So do his friends believe what happened? No. So they think it's a joke, and because I can tell because they keep teasing him, and apparently they're putting in fish scales in his oatmeal. But if you know the story of the Little Mermaid, you know that the Little Mermaid rescued the prince. Since I didn't know the girl's name, I called her Marlena after the marlin, which is a big fish. Get it? The problem was I didn't know if I was dealing with a big fish tail, like T-A-I-L, or a big fish tail, T-A-L-E. Do you know the difference, readers? A T-A-I-L is like the floppy tail of animals or fish, but T-A-L-E is like a tall tail. It's like a story. I sure liked her, though. Everyone liked Marlena. She was great at charades. She could teach kids how to swim and dive in no time. And she blew us away at the local dance contest. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that my buddies were playing a trick on me, especially when they said things like, "Your girlfriend's quite a catch," or "Alec and Marlena swimming in the sea, Kissing." So I came up with the test. Man, his friends really like to tease. Remember my birthday party when I washed up on the beach? A girl from a nearby school had helped me out. She'd let me use her cell phone to call home, and her name was Kim. I texted her. "Kim, want to be on TV, be famous, got a deal for you." I took Kim along to royal events. I drew hearts around her name in the sand. I wrote letters to her on fancy paper and sealed them with a kiss. I sighed a lot and got really good at making goo-goo eyes. I still hung out with Marlena, but I made it clear to her we were just friends. "What a pal," I told her. Can you predict what Alec is doing right now? To me, it looks like Alec is trying to make Marlena jealous. One day, I made an announcement. "Kim and I are getting married." My parents were thrilled. "See, honey," my mom said to my dad, "I told you he'd grow up sooner or later." Now look at this picture closely. How does Kim feel? She's got a shiny ring on her hand. She's looking pretty happy. But look at Marlena if you look in the back. Marlena looks like she is distraught, depressed, sad, wailing. She does not look happy, isn't what I'm trying to say. This is what I expected to happen. As soon as I was married, my friends and Marlena would admit that the mermaid thing was a joke. Then I would admit that I wasn't really married. The wedding was a fake, and we'd have a good laugh, and life would go on as usual. Or it would once my parents got over being mad. My goodness, Alec the practical joker. Do you see what he's doing? He's making this wedding a practical joke. Readers, this is not a good idea. This is what actually happened. I got fake married. My friends gave me a nose-shaped pencil sharpener and a case of chattering teeth as wedding gifts. And Marlena disappeared. After the fake wedding dance for a split second, I thought I saw Marlena's face bobbing in the sea far away. But when I blinked and looked again, all I saw was a bit of sea foam. So you tell me, are mermaids real? Don't tell anyone I said this, but my hunch is that they are. Okay, we're gonna use critical thinking skills. If Marlena told the story instead of the prince, what details might she tell differently? And what if Kim told the story from her point of view? So I think if Marlena told the story instead of the prince, Marlena maybe might tell the story of how she really did rescue him. That he was not dreaming this up. And maybe she would tell the story that Alec is not a very sensitive guy, that his practical joke went way too far. And maybe if Kim told the story from her point of view, how do you think she would tell the story? Would she tell it from the same perspective as Alec and Marlena, do you think? No, readers, you're right. If Kim tells the story, I'm sure Kim would tell the story of how Alec wooed her and really fell in love with her. And how he really did want to marry Kim. And how he was really in love with Kim, even though we know from Alec's perspective that that's not true. So before the story happened, the prince didn't believe in mermaids. But by the end of the story, you can tell, because he says, my hunch is that they are real, that he does think Marlena is real. I wish Marlena did more to change his mind. But I guess she couldn't really talk. Now, you can look online to find the original story and describe how the Little Mermaid character really looks and acts. And you can compare and contrast, meaning tell what's similar and what's different with the Little Mermaid and Marlena in this version of the story. Now, the glossary is part of the book where you can go, and it's almost like a little dictionary. It tells you the definition of the words. So, character, we met multiple characters in the story. So we met Alec, he's a character, the main character of the story. We met Marlena. We met Kim, and we know that a character is a person, animal, or creature in the story. And the point of view is a way of looking at something, a perspective, how the person reads the story. And version, lastly, is an account of something from a certain point of view. So this is Alec's version of the story, Prince Alec's version. But we know that Marlena would have her own version of the story. And we know that Kim would have her own version. And maybe even all of his friends would have another version of the story. Okay, you can read more by reading The Little Mermaid and Other Stories by Rochelle Larkin. You could also read The Little Mermaid by Deanna McFadden or The Book of Mermaids by Patricia Saxton. And you can also, it's important that you learn the difference between fact and fiction. So, thank you for reading No Kidding, Mermaids Are a Joke, and practicing looking at things from different points of view.